Hello everyone, how you doing? I wanted to research the topic of procrastination because if anyone was to have a 5-star in that subject, it would be me. I'm personally someone that procrastinates a lot. I'm someone that, like throughout my life, I've been procrastinating. And even though I have researched this topic, I've tried to research it as extensively as I can. It is something I will still keep doing because I'm a human and I'm full of flaws. I'm not perfect. But I just wanted to talk about the real cost of procrastination. Procrastination is really expensive. And what I mean by expensive is that when you're a young person, the things you have to trade are not much. You don't have a lot of money. You don't have a lot of resources. The thing you have a lot of is time. And time is the major currency you can trade for things like skill and things like money. I say procrastination is expensive because it costs you time, and the time we're talking about is not just days, it's not just hours. Procrastination costs you years. When artists like us hear the word procrastination, we imagine things like just an extra 2 hours of the already 8 hours of sleep that we've already had. They imagine another 3 hours that we spend doom scrolling. They usually imagine another weekend that we spend like just watching videos, whether that be TV series or like just movies or just random YouTube videos online. A lot of artists imagine procrastination as that single day that they've spent telling themselves that they are going to actually start that project that they want to work on. They're going to start it tomorrow. But the reality is a lot harsher than the concept, because for someone speaking from a lot of experience procrastinating, procrastination steals a lot of your future. Procrastination steals years of your life, to be honest. I'm someone that watches a lot of TV series. I still watch TV series and movies till today. I'm still going to watch TV series and movies till tomorrow. Even though the amount has reduced, the urge to watch them has dwindled a lot. But I remember when I was younger and I would save a lot of my lunch money. I would starve myself throughout the day so that I could save enough money so that by the end of the term, I'm going to buy a lot of CDs and watch movies, right? And I remember when I would watch them during the holidays, my dad would suggest that I do a lot of reading, like prepare, get materials for the next term or the next session and start reading ahead, right? But I just wasn't interested in that. First of all, I wasn't that good at school, especially like the science stuff. I was good at the other social science subjects, but in terms of like the science stuff and math and things like that, I just wasn't good at it at the time. So what I did was that I would watch all these movies and I watch them over and over and over again. I'll just spend the day watching, and most of the time I would pick up my pen and draw from these cartoons that I was watching. And I would remember my dad always telling me that this thing you're watching, you know that we're in the age where there are going to be more movies 10 years from now, more movies 20 years from now. Like, film will never finish. That's what he would tell me. Film will never finish. Film has been existing for a long time, and movies will still exist long after I'm gone, right? So there's always an abundance of movies, but the problem is that it might be too late for you. That time you spent watching movies, it might be too late for you to get that time back, because you've not actually done anything with that time you spent watching movies and doing things that like you wouldn't do, like probably preparing for school or like working on something that can actually develop your life. Imagine a comic book artist who wants to work on a graphic novel or a comic book. Not a huge Marvel like or DC like project, just something simple and small. Because of the situation of life, they tell themselves that they're going to start next month, right? And then all of a sudden next month arrives, and then they tell themselves, I'll start next month. And because of how life gets busy, work gets busy, let's say school gets busy, they have these extra responsibilities, they keep postponing. And all of a sudden, next month becomes next year. And all of a sudden, before you know it, it's 5 years. And eventually they wake up still carrying that dream that they had of creating that graphic novel, that little small story that they've actually dreamt of working on for a very long time. They still have it at the back of their mind, and they've not executed on anything. Not because they are not talented enough, not because they are not skilled enough, not because they are not capable enough of doing it, but simply because they kept pushing back. They kept putting off actually starting on that project. I actually heard this quote that rings true, and it said that the older you get, one day you wake up and realize that you have more yesterdays behind you than you actually have tomorrows ahead of you. And that can be a very scary thing for someone that is actually growing up, because you're young and you feel like you have this endless amount of time, right? Until the time doesn't. I'm personally someone that always thought that procrastination is just laziness, that procrastination is just me moving about, not actually wanting to do it. But procrastination sometimes can serve like a disguise, right? You know that popular meme these days, there was never Bugu. There was never Bugu. So sometimes procrastination can be fear of failure. Sometimes procrastination can be fear of judgment. Sometimes procrastination can be the fear that what you're actually wanting to dive into, what you want to create, won't necessarily be as good as the way you have it in your head. Sometimes procrastination can actually feel like, it feels like it's the fear of creating something that you're going to spend years creating this one thing, yes, and this one thing you spend years creating, nobody's actually going to notice it. So that fear keeps you procrastinating. And so instead of risking failure, you keep delaying it, right? You keep putting it off. You keep putting it off. But the thing about failure that I hear, that the one thing I learned about failure personally is that failure is a lot better than procrastinating. It's a lot better. Failure is a lot better than potential. Failure is, I didn't get the expected results that I actually wanted to get. The thing I had in my mind as the success, I didn't get it. What we see as failure is simply reality telling you that, bro, it's not going to be as easy as you think. And the thing is that a lot of us as artists, we're very introverted, and a lot of the times we don't want to be confrontational, and reality is not something we necessarily want to confront. So we keep delaying and postponing the things we want to do. So think about a seed, yeah? Think about a seed of any plant. If you plant that seed today, it's going to start growing today, right? If you plant that seed, if you say you plant that seed next week, the seed won't start growing today. It will start growing next week when you plant it. If you say you're going to postpone it to plant that seed in 5 years' time, that seed will start growing 5 years' time. It doesn't matter the type of farmer you are. It doesn't matter if you've won an award for being the greatest farmer of all time or being the greatest farmer in the world. If you don't plant that seed will not germinate. That seed will not grow. The tree or the plant doesn't care about your excuses as to why you didn't plant it 5 years ago. The tree cares about, or the plant rather cares about, when it was planted. It only responds to when it was put into the ground to get the resources and nourishment it needs to actually grow. Artworks and creative projects are just the same. It starts growing when you create it. Your YouTube channel, your personal projects, your novels, your graphic novels, they don't grow, they don't develop when you actually plan it in your head, when you have it in your head. They actually grow when you've worked on it and when you publish it, right? Your skill as an artist, your portfolio as an artist, it doesn't improve when you plan about the things you're going to work on. It actually improves when you're actively working on that skill, when you're working on what you've already laid out. You might have all the potential in the world. You might have the potential to be greater than Da Vinci even. But if you don't set to sea, and you always stay in the harbor, let's say you're a ship, for instance, that is actually, let's say, a warship that doesn't go to war, or a ship in general that doesn't go to sea. You're not meant to be in a harbor. You're meant to be at sea. That is when you're actually fulfilling your potential. You're living up to your potential. If you are trying to eliminate risk by staying away from the sun, by staying away from the storm, by staying away from the harsh waves in the ocean, you're actually not living your truth. You're not living to your potential. Actually, a lot of the times we do this thing where we do this, okay, I'm still researching, I'm still planning, I'm still drafting out the script, I'm still doing this, everything else but the main job that they're actually supposed to do, the job that is actually going to move the needle forward, the job that's actually going to push progress, the work that's actually going to take the work to the next level and make it progress. We as artists, we do that a lot. And it's simply because we are just scared of failure. If you are someone like me that has a comic that you are just putting off, I had this comic that I was putting off for a very long time, but I eventually started working on it, and I'm still working on it. It's very slow, but I'm still working on it, right? I'm still procrastinating even in the process of working on it, right? I've published over 6 chapters so far. If you're someone that has something like that, whether it's a novel or whether even if it's something as random as a YouTube channel that you have that you keep putting off, I'm not telling you to suddenly become disciplined overnight. All I'm saying is that you should try and take responsibility for what you want to do, that dream you have in your head, and stop giving that responsibility to your future self when your current self can actually start working on it, and then your future self can actually improve on it or make it more perfect. Because as artists or creatives, we care a lot about perfection, and instead of just making it work or starting the creation process today and leaving the rest of the work, the perfectionism work, to our future self, a lot of the time we keep pushing that basic startup to tomorrow. I've had to learn to start with whatever skill I have. I've had to learn to start tired. I've had to learn to start scared. I've had to learn to start unprepared. I've had to learn to start imperfect. And like all this has given me experiences that has actually helped me, because the truth is that we always in our heads as creatives a lot, and we care. The thing is, we think that people care that much when people really don't, right? When we think about like we're putting it out and putting ourselves out there imperfect, that people are going to give so much of a shit that is actually going to suppress your growth. But a lot of the time it doesn't. If you are still feeling unprepared, I promise you your future self is going to tell you, is going to wish that you had started even earlier, than it would be disappointed that you started unprepared. You have wonderful, massive potential. Actually sail into the sea and stop staying in the harbor. That's just what I'm going to say. And thank you for watching, and have a lovely day.